So when you see the Star of David, you're really seeing that seal. Now think about it like this. What is